Hey, Gallagher here, back with an update on one of the craziest 4-star units in Honkai Star Rail. When he came out, I saw he had signs of potential with that disgusting 100% advance, and with new characters, techs, and teams, he has just kept on rising. Linkshot is a Fire Abundance limited 5-star coming out in 2.5, so we'll see what happens there, but unless they duplicate his kit, I think his utility will still be relevant going forward. So let's see everything that's changed as well as why he became so powerful, and some fixes from my last video. Like and sub if this helps, and let's begin. Quick kit recap time. Gallagher heals through his skill, which also cleanses at E2. He also heals from a debuff he applies onto enemies from his ultimate, Besotted, which is also a break vulnerability modifier. Attacking these enemies with allies will heal that ally, and attacking them with Gallagher's enhanced basic heals the whole team. His ult will be enhancing his basic, which is a powerful single target attack with an attack reduction debuff. He has break effect to healing conversion for a nice bonus to heals, and the real crazy part is that his A4 will give him a 100% advance forward upon ulting. That is 99% of the time a free turn. Let's talk about why this 100% advance is so powerful. First, SP generation. Gallagher, in an optimal setup, can basic attack every turn, and since he's a healer, he can opt for a lot of speed in stats for free. So he's already generating a ton of SP like a Pella could, whilst also providing that survivability you'd expect from any other healer. That's 1 SP per turn at a very fast rate. But when considering a free 100% advance every ult, it gets even crazier. If he has a 4-turn ult, that's 1.25 SP a turn. This gives him the best SP generation among sustains. The only times he cannot do this is in heavy debuff cases or one-shots. But if the enemy is dead or broken, that's not really a problem. And that goes into point 2. Point 2 is his toughness reduction versus fire weak enemies. The man has some great toughness reduction values, and since he can basic every turn at a very high speed, this will start stacking up. Head with that ult for another amount, and then a gigantic single target toughness attack with the enhanced basic. It's a lot of toughness reduction, all in a short period. If you are running him with raw mate, it gets even crazier, and his E6 also provides some extra breaking power. Point 3. Quid Pro Quo. You can also run multiplication if you prefer, and that also works for even more SP generation, but there's no doubt that Gallagher is the best user and abuser of this Quid Pro Quo light cone. 16 energy to a random ally every abundance turn is usually hard to maximize, and you usually have to speed tune around it in a nasty way. But in either case, RNG energy or speed tuning energy, Gallagher can proc this twice back to back by taking his turn and then ulting and taking another turn. This is now 32 energy to random allies or to a specific ally you specifically want it on. This gives him some crazy energy battery power. And Quid Pro Quo going onto random allies isn't even that bad since he can proc it so often. You can mini battery your whole team like a Huohuo could, giving some to your support, maybe some to your DPS, helping inch out extra ults in a fight. And then we also have the rise of higher energy cost units. Firefly 240, Yun Li 240, Robin 160, even Ratio has 140. Quid Pro Quo can help these units out multiple times if they do take forever to generate half energy, allowing us to also force our procs on these specific units. Charge activation is point 4. We've started seeing the introduction of more and more charge units, ones that gain charges through certain conditions. For March, it's some of her attacks and her chosen Shifu's attacks, and for Jade, it's some of her attacks and her chosen Deck Collector attacks, as well as targets hit. Either way, these two units don't do all that much damage on their basics, which they will be spamming. Instead, they are backloaded into an enhanced basic for March's case, or follow-ups and ultimates in Jade's case. This means charge generation is paramount to their damage. Now, you probably won't be debt collecting on Gallagher unless you've got Jade E1, but in March's case, Gallagher is a very potent Shifu because of how often he can take action. You can also speed tune specifically to enable some really crazy charge generation, as again, you could choose exactly when you want to get that 100% advance. Aventurine will technically have higher frequency attacks when hit enough, but Gallagher is free. This finally moves on to point 5, which is kind of like a point 4.5 because it's relevant for Jade and March. But anyway, high frequency attacks. This is pretty specific to Robin for now, but Robin generates energy every time an ally attacks, and during Concerto, you also get a damage proc every time. And you know the drill, take so many turns, and so Robin does so many ticks of damage. The advance helps him take yet another turn too, and the SP generation just goes crazy. Oh, and finally, he can debuff twice in a really short amount of time. How nice for debuff conditional units and team compositions. So what about building him? For a general sustain build, just opt for a 2-piece combo of Hack Space for speed, Thief or Watchmaker for break, Passerby for healing percent. If you need 1 SP specifically on your first rotation in a team, you can also opt for 4 Passerby. For planers, you'd want to go for Fleet of the Aegis or Broken Keel. Forge is also a possibility just for the speed and the occasional break effect buff depending on the enemy. And so are 5% energy planers if and only if you have a specific energy requirement planned for him. You want a healing percent chest, speed boots always, HP or death orb, and an energy rope. Prioritize speed in substats as well as break effect and effect res. For the rope, I really prefer energy rope over break just to optimize energy rotations even more so. Break rope is good for his healing bonus, but the damage gain won't be that relevant. You can substitute energy rope in some rotations with stuff like post-op conversation, so check out the light cone energy rotations that I'll talk about later and decide accordingly. For a stat goal, opt for a bunch of HP and death, and then I like having 160 speed, but a bit lower is fine too. His break effect cap is 150%, but it's not necessary to cap out at the loss of other stats, so I'd aim for lower. Finally, aim for 50% F-res on him when considering his E1 for full debuff immunity on your Gallagher. If you want a more DPS focused build in a super break team, you could then go for Iron Cavalry and Forge as your relics and planars. Iron Cavalry requires a lot of break effect, so remember, you won't necessarily always hit it unless you forego the energy rope. Forge is really strong for the speed and break effect here, which should always be up now considering you'll prioritize 5-week stages. The damage increase overall when considering a whole team simulation with Firefly isn't that substantial though, so you can stick to your normal sustain build if you're happy with it. Now onto energy rotations and light cones. So we'll be considering a basic BAM playstyle. 5 basics is the standard rotation and requires an energy rope to guarantee the 5 basic ultimate. You'll need 6 basics if running break rope, but RNG can make it faster, just like it can with the energy rope rotation. And this energy rope can be substituted by an S1 post-op or even just a 5% energy planar. If you add a post-op light cone of S2 or higher with your energy rope, you can hit a 4 basic ultimate rotation. 3 basics isn't possible unless you get hit a boatload of times or have someone generating energy for you. So between 4 to 6 basics. Another important rotation is his first turn ultimate. I made a mistake during my OG guide about his E1. His E1, just like flat light cone energy, is affected by energy regen. It makes the first turn ult rotation not need an energy cone like I previously indicated, and I'm sorry for that mistake. So with just a skill alone and an energy rope, you can get a first turn ult. This can be very powerful for immediate toughness damage for say a Firefly team, but it's also great for the previously mentioned reasons of that 100% advance. If you have a source of 10 energy, you can replace the skill with a basic. This can be the 3-star Fine Fruit Abundance Light Cone or Ruanmei with Signature. You can also finally basic if you have at least post-op S4 and an energy rope and a 5% energy planar, but it sacrifices both the light cone and planar slot. So what does that mean for light cones? I'd say Gallagher really wants to choose between 3 cones. Post-op, multiplication, and quid pro quo, and maybe Huohuo's signature, but it's a limited cone. His own light cone is cool for the break effect, but the self-healing really is never needed from all my gameplay with him, so I definitely prefer other options that give meaningful utility. Same goes for perfect timing. You can get the F-res you need just fine in substats, and the effect isn't revolutionary. I think Huohuo's is decent as it gives some new emergency healing, but again, I haven't needed it in his optimal teams, and I wouldn't pull for it for him. Linkshot will release with an abundance cone, and I'll let you know when it's revealed if it's good or not on him over these options. By the way, let me know in the comments if you want me to review new light cone releases in separate smaller videos, kind of like how I do relics. I never do them because I feel like they'll blow up the channel. Anyway, onto these 3 light cones. First, I'll show the SP generation difference over 550 action value on a 160 speed Gallagher with basic spam. This is because all 3 cones are different. Post-op means more ults, but multiplication means more turns, and quid pro quo gets neither benefit. In 550 AV, Gallagher will be generating 10 skill points for the team with quid pro quo. With post-op S5, he gets an additional ultimate, so 11 SP.
With multiplication, he gets that additional ultimate too, thanks to the new turns, and then he also gets those new turns. So a total of 13 SP. So Quid Pro Quo can be instrumental to some teams and energy generation, and the extra SP won't always be necessary from the others. Multiplication offers the best skill point generation among light cones, and post-op is in between the two. It offers safer ultimate generation and some extra SP in a longer fight. Decide according to your preference. Finally, teams. He is a strong sustain in general, so don't feel bad if you can't make one of these teams. One of his best teams is the Super Break core team. Break vulnerability, insane toughness damage, and then some crazy super break damage thanks to Imaginary MC and Ruan Mei. He becomes a DPS of his own on top of complementing a main carry. The strongest variation so far is the Firefly team. Acheron Hypercarry is another banger, and he offers some great debuff generation for her stacks on top of sustained power. He is replaceable by trend preservation units as well as Aventurine with Signature, and those two will give more stacks overall. Ratio likes debuffs, and for a free-to-play friendly team, you can run Gallagher with him if you don't have Aventurine. And with the introduction of March as well as Jade E1, Gallagher can be their Shifu or Jade Collector and create brand new teams all about massive charge generation. With both the units SP positivity, you can also bring Bronya for even more charge generation and or damage amp for your carry. And my favorite team is one I've been cooking all the way since 2.2 with Robin's release, and that is the Chip team, or the Advanced team, or the small damage but 1000 times team, the 10,000 stabs team. I don't know what it should be called. You want a high frequency attacker, and one that loves a high amount of attacks and is pretty fast, like March 7th Hunt for example, is especially powerful. Then you pair Bronya Robin with said DPS and then Gallagher. Damage ticks from Robin every attack in Concerto. Energy for Robin every attack. Advances from Bronya and Robin for more turns, more charges, which means more attacks. The team creates an immense feedback loop. Back in my Robin guide, I showcased the potential of this Bronya Robin setup. Every time Robin advances, the DPS advances twice thanks to Bronya. The only problem was the SP, and Gallagher and an SP positive or neutral DPS fixes this. So March 7th Hunt, or JD1 for example, again. And what's really good about these two units is they are all about charge generation. Getting to their massive damage requires turns or attacks, so it doesn't matter if they're spamming basics, because that's what their kit does. The team is really fun and you can flex in many DPS. It's also pretty versatile and flexible in how you play. Bronya will skill on Robin for an immediate ult on your team's first rotation, removing any ramp up problems. Bronya can skill on Robin in Concerto even for a perma damage % buff, as she won't be moved up during Concerto. She can skill on the DPS for an extra turn worth of damage, but if they are a charge based damage dealer, she can even skill on Gallagher. Considering he will have Quid Pro Quo here, that's an extra free 16 energy per Bronya turn, an extra charge that DPS would have got anyway, and then more free energy for Gallagher for more ults for more charges. I'm really happy this team is taking off with March Hunt. Isara even ran it with Sushang 2 months ago, as Sushang is SP neutral after breaks. Not Hoyo ran it with March 7th Hunt recently, and Jade E1 can run it too. I even saw Jingyu Zero cycle with this team, as she has advanced forward and lower SP consumption. Robin is just getting better and better, and her potential is increasing and being exposed to more players. But this is a Gallagher video, sorry. Let me know if you're a Gallagher enjoy, as well as if you're considering pulling for Linkshare. Thanks to my amazing YouTube members, thanks for watching, and have a good day.